let's move from here and talk about that new report on the state of the African energy industry in 2022, which was released yesterday by the African Energy Chamber at a virtual webinar. The new report comes some 2 weeks before the scheduled high-profile African Energy Week in Durban, South Africa. The Energy Week conference ending on the 12th of November will overlap the UN Climate Change Summit, or COP26, in Glasgow. Putting it all in context and perspectives for us tonight on the show is Ayuk. He is the founder and executive chairman of African Energy Chamber. Ayuk joins me tonight from Cape Town in South Africa. Good evening to you, my friend. Great to have you again on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good here in Lagos today. Don't ask about the pepper soup yet, so let's just get down to the Africa Energy. I know that's your favorite Nigerian's delicacy. Give me the highlights of this latest. Let's talk about the latest State of Africa Energy report. What is in this report, my friend?
First of all, we are winning. We are winning big on Africa Energy Week. The State of Africa Energy is resilient, not strong as we wanted. We are seeing a big resurgence in the industry after COVID-19 in 2020. We saw government receivables decline by less than 50%. We saw just one high impact well drilled in 2021 and in 2021 and in 2020. In 2022, we're looking at 13, maybe even up to about 17. We're looking at 945 wells drilled around Africa in 2022. Again, that's a caveat because it's been a decline from 1,445, given where we were 10 years ago. But there's also some realities we have to deal with. There is energy transition. The big IOCs are divesting critical exploration and production assets that have been carbon intensive to national oil companies and new independents. So it's a tough time for Africa oil and gas. We're seeing a decline in investment, but there's going to be an uptick next year because the commodity prices have picked up and everything. But we must not forget the tsunami that we have to deal with that is around us as what it comes into climate change and cutting out green gas emissions. But we must also look at what we see with the regulatory environment. The regulatory environment we see in 2022 is going to be tough. Take, for example, in the Central African area, you have the forex regulation that are just killing jobs, and we have to change that. But we're still seeing a big resurgence towards market-driven policies and fiscal responsibility, as we're seeing with the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act in Nigeria. That's a very, very good thing. The market loves that. Money is going to flow in. That is something that we see. But gas is going to drive a lot of what is going to happen next year. But get ready. We are going to have a fight in our hands when it comes to energy transition and where Africa stands in 2022. So we're excited about what is happening, but there's been a firing shot, and we got to get ready to get to battle.
Yeah, we need to get ready. Why would you talk a little bit about why this report you talked about your release is necessary? You talk about the top 20. Are those the top 20 issues for Africa's energy industry from the COVID-19 2020 period to 2021? How much of the problems or the impact of 2020, 2021 will Africa's energy industry onboard into 2022 and beyond?
A lot of it. We still have an industry that is still on lockdown. We've not fully recovered from COVID-19, but we're getting there. We still have an industry that is still dealing with issues regarding to local content, that is not really seeing a lot of local empowerment of everyday Africans. We have to be honest, Africans are still the last hired and the first fired in our industry. We're doing better than we were, but we need to get further. Economies are recovering, but also we're seeing drilling, exploration has slowed down. Gas projects that were kept behind, a lot of new field development projects that were put on hold or force majeure were now sanctioned in 2020 because of COVID. This year they started to pick up, didn't really get there. So we're going to see that. Look at the force majeure in Mozambique when it came to Total. We're hoping that they got a great general out there out of Rwanda, by the way. He's really taking care of stuff. So they're going to take care of these carriers. We're going to see some really big gas. Nigeria alone, Minister Silva has declared it a decade of gas with the passage of petroleum industry bill. So you're going to see that uptick. It's going to drive there. In Senegal, you got a very charismatic leader who is pushing the GTA project with gas that is happening. Let's not forget, look at the north, our brothers around Egypt. They're driving that. So we've seen some of these projects that have been put behind. They're coming back on stream, but we need to encourage them. We need to drive it. But let's not forget, we are part of a global industry. Even though the markets are better right now, we still see the markets being stable in 2022 as climate concerns. Look at Europe is going back to even using coal. So we are still the least continent that emits greenhouse gas, and we hope that Africa is going to be given the space to develop its natural resources because we have to industrialize this continent.
Yeah, so this latest report from African Energy Chamber, how does it fit into the bigger November African Energy Week Summit holding in Durban?
Oh, it's going to be everything. We define the issues. That's why nobody's going to Dubai. Everybody's come to Cape Town. We just define the issues with this report. Look at the depth, look at the substance, and look at this. This shows knowledge. You know, this industry is not about pretenders. It's about contenders. You really need to get in details with the issues. The times are too critical for our continent to not have real discussions. That's why we're having so many African ministers, so many NOCs, some oil companies that had earlier said they're going to Dubai. They are coming to Cape Town in droves. I don't have enough tickets for them. Space is too small because of COVID restrictions. But think about it. We have 5 different locations all across the waterfront. We are going to really define the narrative and define the issues for the countries come 2022. That is what the Africa Energy Chamber is about. That is what we're driving in Cape Town, because we need to have an honest dialogue about our oil and gas industry and renewables and hydrogen and green hydrogen and everybody being part of it so that we can build a great energy mix. So you're going to see a really robust dialogue of everybody coming there. I'm excited already. I'm excited about what's going to happen in Cape Town.
Very interesting. Who's going to be on ground at the African Energy Week event?
The only person I've not been able to have is you and the Pope, but I'm still working on that. But I think we have from Nigeria, we have the group managing director of NNPC, we have the Minister of Petroleum of Nigeria, we have the Minister from Ghana, Energy Minister. We even have the Vice President of Malawi coming down. He's so excited about it. We have Angela Merkel sending his personal representative, Gunter Nuke, my good friend. From the United States, we have the Assistant Secretary of Energy and the former ones who give a lot of energy access. So it's really big. But from the private sector, there have been some really interesting people who never thought would be taking part in this industry because they've seen the work that we've done. We've knocked on doors. We've organized brick by brick, block by block. That's why the South African Department of Mineral and Energy Resources endorse us. I'm really proud of what the team have done. It showed that Africans can be able to put something world class, okay, because it's nothing. There was nothing before us and there'll be nothing after this. But I think we are going to 2022 and 2021 is just a start. But most importantly, besides the people,
yes,
we are going to have a big dialogue.
Well,
where this industry.
Ayuk, stay with us. We've got a few more grounds to cover. I'm sure you've got your eyes on the COP26 Summit, the UN Climate Change Summit starting in Glasgow on Friday. So we've got to talk about that because it's going to be a very big one. What should be the agenda for Africa? With South Africa being at the front burner of some of the conversations there, we want your thoughts on COP26 and what you think the outcome would be. A few countries, big names such as Brazil and India, says they're not going. Should Africa go? We'll be back, everyone. Stand by, everyone. We'll be right back into it. Welcome back to Rise Exchange and my focused interview on Africa's energy sector with the founder of the African Energy Chamber, NJ Ayuk, in Cape Town. Thank you so much, Ayuk, for standing by. So here we go to COP26, 1st of November to the 12th. This is going to overlap your event in SA a little bit. So what should be the message that Africa is taking to the COP26? Let's start from there.
I think Africa needs to take a very strong message. Energy poverty is real. 600 million Africans do not have access to any electricity. 900 million no access to clean cooking, most of them women. They are burning firewood in villages, in smaller communities, and actually emitting more greenhouse gases. But again, Africa is still the continent that has admitted less than 2% of the greenhouse gas emission. And Africa should not be punished by those who have emitted more, and they should be those curtailed. The divestment on African fossil fuels should stop. We talk about decarbonizing. African negotiators, I'm talking to a lot of them. You don't decarbonize what has not been carbonized. It's like telling a skinny guy to lose weight. That doesn't work. So those who have emitted more, they have done more damage, should cut back. I don't believe it's time to boycott. In the beginning, I didn't feel like I wanted to go. I'm taking a delegation, man. We're taking a lot of people there. Because if you're not on the table, you're going to be on the menu. And that is not a good place to be if you're on the menu. But we also have to hold the United Nations and the global community accountable. They promised $100 billion in 2009 to help emerging nations, poor nations, mitigate that. What does that mean? Maybe most African nations was about $5 or $6 or $7 million to mitigate the climate. That was 2009. 2015, we signed the Paris Accord. 2021, they have not provided that money. What new agreement do you want to sign when someone promised you money 12 years ago, which would give you maybe just 5 million, and you did not do that? We should be going to COP, and we would ask, where is the 100 billion you presented? Europe will be spending $5 trillion a year. We need to figure out how we're going to pay for an African energy transition. Focus on finance would be key, but we need to be very firm. This is no time for African leaders to go out there and take a nice per diem and sit in the hotel and eat good food and sign off on the future of these young people. So many young people, so many young Africans that don't have a shot. They are not ready to give up on their natural resources. So we need to defend our natural resources like a junkyard dog in the face of a hurricane, because we are facing a hurricane right now. So we need to go to COP.
Yeah, Africa needs to be at COP26. So, you're expecting countries such as South Africa, Nigeria, and a few others in sub-Saharan Africa to lead the team and lead the conversations in Glasgow on Friday.
They have to lead. They have to lead. This is where leadership counts. This is where they have to be not just a spokesman for South Africa or for Nigeria, but they have to be a spokesman for the little countries. They have to be the spokesman for that mom living in a village in Gambia with no lights. They have to be the spokesman for the young woman that is losing everything and don't have a chance to go to school. They have to be the spokespersons for that young man that doesn't want to go to Europe, wants to stay in Africa and get a future. They have to be the spokesman for the guys who have died on the road crossing the Mediterranean, searching out for greener pastures. They have to be the spokesperson for a lot of young people that are hoping to have a future that is as good and as decent as the communities they are. They have to be spokespersons for this. This is time. This is a leadership moment. This is a time for a profiling courage. And we have to take COP26 very serious. It's better to abstain and not sign this continent away and come back. Let them come back to Africa and negotiate with us, because our future is at risk. There is never a time when the guy who has not done more damage is being asked to pay for the sins of the rich and the powerful. Africa cannot always be the conscience of the world or the person that saves the world. We're part of a global community. We go on transition, but somebody has to pay for it. It shouldn't be grandma and grandpa in the village paying for a transition for rich people in different societies. We, global village, we should be truly global. That's why we call for a just energy transition, but that makes energy poverty history.
Yeah, you talked about a part of your social media network. You talk about not just net zero emission, but net zero poverty. Put these two in context for me, with poverty on one hand and net zero emission on the other hand.
When you talk about net zero emission, has always been, let's just reduce carbon greenhouse gas emissions. But again, when you still have people, the social inequalities in society, and they try to play this cat game by rich people who living in big cities, drinking their martinis, their light lattes, and blaming it on oil and gas companies and everything. That's not it. We have so many poor people. When you talk about ESG and the transition and all of that, we have to look carefully. We have to look at jobs. You can't love jobs and those who create jobs. That's one of the things that we have to pay attention to. But net zero cannot just be about cutting carbons without taking carbon emission, greenhouse gas emissions, without thinking about people. We have to look at how we create opportunity, education, getting people electricity, and really driving up social inequities that we've not done in the past. I know most people are surprised to hear an old man talks like this, but that is the reality. And we need to bring some compassion in what we see. And I think our industry has done a lot of that, but we need to drive that with new technology. So many young Africans have an opportunity to use technologies that will change the world, but it needs to start now. It needs to be funded. Look at renewables, net zero poverty. The majority of funding that's going into renewable companies have not been going towards African companies. I'm going to put that at the forefront at COP, and I'm going to put that at the forefront at African Energy Week. And we need to challenge these so-called investors and these so-called aid donors. Why they're not financing African companies? It is necessary. It is critical. We need to demand it, and we need to seek that. The environmental and climate justice needs to be part. So those saying cut down greenhouse gas emissions are never talking about justice. They're never talking about equity, and there's never talking about inclusiveness. That is wrong. You can't have net zero without justice, without equity and inclusiveness. Our generation of Africans need to stand up for that, and we need to demand that. But never give up your natural resources because they tell you to.
NJ Ayuk, Executive Chairman and Founder at the African Energy Chamber, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you all the best at the South African event later next month, starting November the 9th. Thank you so much. Have a great evening over there.